In this video, I want to show you something about transferring a single repetitive design many times. And I'm going to use an example of a woman's face. It happens to be my mother. And this would also apply to, let's say that you design a new logo, and it's a pelican, and you want the pelican to look exactly the same every time you draw it. Mainly when you're doing portrait drawing or figure drawing, you prefer to draw from life, from a model. And the same with animals or plants, you prefer to draw from life. But one thing I learned in my graphic art experience in a newspaper, when I worked for the newspaper, is sometimes you just need simple art that looks the same every time. And sometimes you're going to have to do it in different ways, perhaps one time in color, one in black and white, etc. So this is a very simple way to do something like that. Now this is a photograph of my mother that I printed out on my printer. But then what I did was I took a regular number 2 pencil and I overdrew the different elements of her photograph that I was going to transfer. And you can see I put an oval shape around. I basically just marked. I'm not really tracing here. I'm marking the lines I want to transfer. I changed her hair. In this photo her hair was straight, but she had curly hair most of her life. So I've changed the design of her hair. And you can see all I did was take a dark pencil and go over the photograph with the elements that I wanted. You could do this with any object. You could even draw a pelican once the first time and then transfer it the way I'm going to show you, so that you're always transferring the same drawing. But in this case, what I did was, as I said, I picked out the elements I wanted. I then, on the back, similar to any kind of rubbing you would do, I filled the back with graphite with the side of the pencil. So there's all this graphite on the back. I then took a clean piece of paper, made sure it wasn't going to move, and just went over the elements I wanted. I didn't fill in anything I wasn't going to want. And what that gave me is an outline that resembles my mother. Now, if that had been a pelican or a starfish or a clamshell or a horse, any design at all, you would end up with the same design in outline on a clean sheet of paper. Now, because I'm currently working in metal point, I actually want to do several little portraits of my mother in different metals. So again, what I did was fill the back with graphite, and I can now use this as a clean piece to transfer this design to different surfaces for different drawings of the same type. Now the first one I've done is, it's a wood support. It has marble dust and rabbit skin glue on it. And as you can see, you can even see the saw marks. This was a scrap piece of wood. I think there you can see. I've started to fill in the background with copper point, which is right through here. And I had placed this on top of the wood, and again took a pencil and just went over the lines, and that left an imprint of graphite on the piece of wood. I then took, in this case, I was using steel to go over the outline because I'm working in metal point. Now, if you were working in any other medium, you would have a graphite image there that you could then paint or ink in or almost do anything you wanted with. Now, the reason, like I said, the reason I'm doing it this way is I want the image to be consistent so that as I use different metals, it won't be on different subjects. If I do one in copper, one in silver, one in aluminum, it will be the metals and the effect of the metals that are different and not the image. So it's that type of an application that this applies to. I also had painted a similar painting of my mother, but I just painted that freehand, which, most artists get to the point where if they want to paint something, they just paint it. This transfer method, which again is very simple, is when you want the design itself to be consistent. Now, I've made additional copies of this one, this clean working image. In fact, they're under here. I have 5 different copies because I've learned from some of my other designs that after a while, just by going over the same lines all the time, this is going to wear out. So now I have a total of 6 copies, and I can just keep transferring this same image to all kinds of surfaces and do all kinds of effects with the same design. So that's a very simple way of transferring one consistent design many times in order to then finish the artwork in different ways.